Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today you will learn classroom English. Real sentences from a real school day. One student tells the whole story. Listen, repeat, and improve your English. Let's go. Scene 1. Entering the classroom. The bell rings and I walk into the classroom. Good morning. I say to my classmates. Everyone says, "Hello, Bach," to me. I look for an empty seat near the window. There is one empty desk. So I sit down. I put my backpack on the desk. My friend sits next to me and says, "Hey." "Hey." I say back, "How are you?" My friend says he is tired because he did not sleep well. I say me neither. I stayed up too late. Then the teacher walks into the room. The teacher says, "Good morning, class." Everyone says, "Good morning, teacher." The teacher tells us to take our seats. Then the teacher says, "Let us begin the lesson. Open your books to page 42. The teacher says, I open my bag and realize I forgot my book. Oh no. I say to myself, I tell my friend that I forgot my book at home. My friend says I can share with him and not to worry. Thanks. I say, "You are a lifesaver." Scene 2. During the lesson, listening to the teacher. The teacher says today we will learn about past tense verbs. The teacher tells everyone to listen carefully. Then the teacher writes some examples on the board. Walk becomes walked. The teacher says, talk becomes talked, but some verbs are different. The teacher explains, go becomes went, eat becomes ate, see becomes saw. The teacher asks if everyone understands. Most students say yes, but one student raises a hand and says no. That student says he does not understand the difference. The teacher says that is a good question. Regular verbs, add ed at the end. The teacher explains. Irregular verbs change completely. The teacher tells us to write these rules in our notebook. I take out a pen and paper from my bag. Another student asks the teacher to repeat the last example. The teacher says go becomes went and eat becomes ate. Okay. That student says, now I understand. The teacher says practice makes perfect. I write everything down in my notebook carefully. Scene 3. Asking a question in class. The teacher looks around the room and asks if anyone has a question. I raise my hand slowly. The teacher calls on me and asks what my question is. I ask, how do you know if a verb is regular or irregular? The teacher says you need to memorize them. There is no easy rule for irregular verbs. Oh, I say, that is difficult. The teacher says yes, but I can do it. Make a list of 10 irregular verbs every day. The teacher tells me, practice them before you sleep. That is a good idea. I say, I will try it. Then another student raises a hand. That student asks the teacher to give us a homework example. The teacher says, write 5 sentences using past tense. Use 3 regular verbs and 2 irregular verbs. Another student asks when the homework is due. The teacher says tomorrow morning at the start of class. Okay. I say to myself, I will do it tonight. Scene 4. Group work. Working with classmates. The teacher says, now let us do group work. The teacher puts students into small groups of 3. Find 2 people near you. The teacher says, work together for 10 minutes. I turn to the student on my left. She says hello and tells me her name is Anna. I say hi and tell her my name. She says nice to meet me. I say nice to meet her too. Then the student on my right joins us. He says hey and asks if he can work with us. I say yes. Of course. Join our group. Anna asks what the first exercise is. I look at the book and say we need to write 5 past tense sentences. Okay. Marco says, let us think together. Anna says, I went to the park yesterday. Marco says, that is good, and he writes it down. Then Marco says, I ate pizza for dinner. Lily says, nice. I love pizza. Then Lily says, I saw a good movie last week. Excellent. I say, now we need 2 more. I say, I played soccer on Saturday. Great. Anna says, last one. Who has an idea? Lily says, I read a very interesting book. Perfect. I say, we are done. Marco says that was fast. Lily says we work well together. Yes. I say, let us do more group work next time. Scene 5. Taking a test. Quiet time. The teacher claps hands and says, quiet please. Everyone listen. The teacher says, it is time for a short quiz. Some students whisper, oh no. The teacher says, do not worry, because the quiz is very easy. Take out a blank piece of paper. I look in my backpack for paper. Oh no. I say to myself, I have no paper. I whisper to the student next to me and ask if he has extra paper. He says yes and gives me 1 sheet. Thanks. I whisper, you saved me. The teacher writes 5 questions on the board. Number 1, write the past tense of go. Number 2, write the past tense of eat. Number 3, write the past tense of see. Number 4, write the past tense of walk. Number 5, write the past tense of talk. The teacher says you have 5 minutes. Begin. I write quickly in my notebook. Go becomes went. Eat becomes ate. See becomes saw. Walk becomes walked. Talk becomes talked. I check my answers 1 more time. Okay. I think they are all correct. I say to myself, the teacher says time is up. Put your pencils down. Please pass your papers to the front. The teacher says, the student in front of me collects all the papers. The teacher smiles and says, good job, everyone. We will get the results tomorrow. Scene 6. End of class. Packing up. I look at the clock on the wall. It shows 3 o'clock. We have 5 minutes left of class. Finally, I whisper to my friend. My friend whispers back and tells me not to let the teacher hear me. Sorry. I whisper and laugh quietly. The teacher says one last thing before we leave. Do not forget your homework. The teacher says, write 5 past tense sentences. Bring them tomorrow morning. The teacher says, everyone says, yes, teacher, together. One student asks if we can leave now. The teacher says yes. You are free to go. The bell rings loudly. Everyone stands up at the same time. The teacher says, do not push. Walk slowly to the door. I put my pen and notebook in my backpack. My friend asks if I wrote down the homework. Yes. I say, I wrote it on my hand. My friend says, that is funny, but do not lose it. Do not worry. I say, I will remember. We walk out of the classroom together. I say, see you tomorrow to my friend. He says, see you, and tells me to have a good evening. I say you too, and tell him to do his homework. He laughs and says, yes, Mom. Hey. I say, I am not your mom. He says, sorry. That was a bad joke. I say it is okay. See you tomorrow. He says bye and walks away. Scene 7. Talking after class. In the hallway. The hallway is very crowded. So many students are walking to their next class. My friend asks me where my next class is. I say my next class is on the second floor. He says his next class is in room 212. I say my class is room 205. That is near his class. He asks if I want to walk together. Okay, I say. But we only have 3 minutes. We walk up the stairs together. He asks if I understood the past tense lesson. Yes, I say. It was not too hard. I tell him the irregular verbs are the hardest part. He says yes. He always forgets went and ate. I say me too. I need to practice more. He says we can practice together at lunch. Good idea. I say, bring your notebook. Okay. He says, see you in the cafeteria. We arrive at my classroom door. I say this is my room and I need to go inside. He says okay and good luck in my next class. Thanks. I say, you too. See you at lunch. He says bye and walks away. I walk into my next classroom. The teacher is already writing on the board. Sorry, I am late. I say to the teacher. The teacher says it is okay and tells me to take a seat. I find an empty desk near the back. I take out my notebook again. One class ends and another begins. I think to myself, that is how school works every day. Scene 8. Raising a hand, getting help. The teacher in this class is very strict. I think to myself, oh no, this will be hard, I whisper. The teacher writes a math problem on the board. Solve for x. The teacher says, 2x plus 3 equals 7. The teacher asks what is the value of x. I do not understand this problem at all. I raise my hand slowly. The teacher calls on me and asks if I have a question. Yes. I say. I do not understand how to start. The teacher says first, subtract 3 from both sides. Okay. I say and write that down in my notebook. Then divide both sides by 2. I say, now I understand. X equals 2. The teacher says correct and good job. Thank you. The teacher says asking questions is good. Do not be afraid to raise your hand. Yes. I say. I will remember that. The teacher writes another problem on the board. This time I try to solve it alone. 4x minus 5 equals 11. I add 5 to both sides in my notebook. 4. X equals 16. Then I divide by 4. X equals 4. I raise my hand again. The teacher calls on me and asks what my answer is. X equals 4, I say. The teacher says correct and very good. Thanks. I say. I feel more confident now. That is what learning is all about, I say to myself. Scene 9. Working alone, silent reading. The teacher says now it is silent reading time. Take out your English book. The teacher says, open to page 55. Read the story by yourself. The teacher says, do not talk to your neighbor. The teacher says, the classroom becomes very quiet. I open my book to the right page. The story is about a boy and his dog. The boy lost his dog in the park. He looked everywhere for the dog. The dog was hiding under a bench. The boy felt very happy when he found the dog. I like this story. I think to myself, it makes me feel warm inside. I look to my right and see a student sleeping. Pust. I whisper, wake up. The student opens his eyes and asks what. I whisper that the teacher is looking this way and tell him to be quiet. Thanks. The student whispers back. The teacher walks around the room. Everyone is reading quietly. The teacher says in a low voice. The teacher tells us to keep reading for 5 more minutes. I continue reading the story. The boy took his dog home. He gave the dog food and water. The dog wagged its tail. The boy and the dog were very happy. The teacher says time is up. Close your books. Ah, I whisper. I wanted to finish the story. The teacher hears me and says I can finish it at home. Okay, I say. I will read the rest tonight. Scene 10. Leaving school. End of the day. The final bell rings. Yes, I say to myself. School is over for today. Everyone packs their bags quickly. The teacher reminds us not to forget our homework. Everyone says, "Yes, teacher." We will remember. I put my English book in my backpack. I put my math notebook inside, too. I see my pen on the floor and pick it up. My friend asks me if I packed everything. Yes, I think so, I say. He tells me to check my desk. One more time. Oh, I say. My water bottle is still there. He says, see. Always check before you leave. Thanks. I say. You are a good friend. We walk to the front door of the school. The sun is very bright outside. Wow. I say. It is so warm. He says yes. Finally, good weather. He asks if I want to walk home together. Sure. I say. Let us go. We walk down the streets side by side. He asks what I learned today. I say I learned past tense verbs. He says me too, and he also learned math problems. I say school is hard but useful. He says yes. One day we will thank our teachers. Probably. I say. But not today. He laughs and says I am funny. We reach the corner of his street. He says, see you tomorrow. See you. I say. Have a good night. He says bye and walks to his house. I continue walking to my house. The front door is locked. I take out my key and open the door. Hello. I say. I am home. No one is here yet. I see. Time to do my homework. I say to myself. Then I can relax. Another school day is complete. Okay. That is all for today. Listen to this video again tomorrow. Repeat the sentences out loud. You will get better very fast. Like and subscribe for more English lessons. See you next time. Bye.